everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is WatchArtSci. Today, we're going to be taking a look at my collection as it creeps along and grows and fits and plans, more fits than plans. And so we're going to start with looking at these guys. Now, there are 10 there in the case. Usually a couple of them are in the winder, but I put them in the case so they can see them all together. One of them is being overhauled, and so out of the 11 that I count as being part of the collection, one is out for repairs. Okay. All right. Well, let's get started and take a look at the collections, and once we're finished with that, we'll have our drawing for the free watch. The first watch that I got as a collector, I really wasn't too sure about anything, and I think it was a matter of, well, I did some research, but it was a lot of it was beginner's luck. I was very fortunate. I got this Patek Phillipe Calatrava, reference 3468. It's a 1968. In fact, it was first sold on July 4th, 1968. And it's just when I wind it, it's like it's so smooth. It's like winding jewels, and it's sort of seen as a bit delicate. I mean, you can't wear it with everything, but what you can wear it with looks pretty nice. Okay, so that's the first one. Is my Calatrava, Patek Philippe Calatrava. The second was that because after I got my Patek, I heard that, well, you're going to need something for sort of everyday use because that Calatrava that you got is not probably little too delicate for that. So I ended up getting a Vacheron Constantin overseas. The one I got was the first model. They refer to it as OS1. It has a Vacheron Constantin caliber 1311, which is based on a Girard-Perregaux 3100. And it's just a good everyday watch. I love to wear it. It's automatic, and it keeps pretty good time. So anyhow, so that was my second one in the collection, is my overseas. The third in my collection is a bit unusual. It's a Vacheron Constantin with the unpronounceable name because they put 1972 in Roman numerals. This watch originated, the idea for it was back in 1972 when Vacheron Constantin won the Prestige de France, which is a huge deal, and they were the first watch company ever to win. So they decided, well, what we'll do is we'll make a watch just to celebrate. And this is the second of three different designs that they had. This design first came out in 1999. My particular one was made in 2000. It runs on a caliber 1055 that's based on a Frederic Piguet 6.10. And this watch is just more fun. When I wear it, it's like my Calatrava. You can't wear it out for anything rough and tumble, but it's interesting because it has that asymmetric shape to it. Okay, my next watch is one. I thought, well, I better get one for my wife, and this was actually the first brand new watch I got as a collector. My other ones I always bought pre-owned, but this one I thought, well, I'll go out and I'll find a brand new one. And so I decided on the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. I got this back in 2016. And it's a lady stainless steel watch. My wife wears it all the time. I wind it every morning and have it ready for her. And it's just one of those nice watches that keeps time well, and wonderful watch. The thing about the Reverso is that in the ladies' Reverso is that they're relatively small, and to have a mechanical movement in one speaks very highly of Jaeger-LeCoultre, and I often do. Okay, my next watch is an L-Leroy. An L-Leroy is it's called the Grand Osmore Mécanique Extra Plot. Extra Plot simply means ultra thin. And the watch itself it's running on a what they call a L 1025 for Leroy L25, but in fact what it is, it's a Pazouz 7001, which is a good, pretty solid, uh, ordinary but solid working uh, movement. The thing about this watch is that it is way amount of lot of gold in it. It's a beautiful watch. Got a beautiful design. The deloche on the front. The history of El Leroy is unbelievable. There's Marie Antoinette in the background because she had El Leroy make a watch for her boyfriend. Anyhow, so that's this I got. It was not planned, and it sort of was done on the spur of the moment. And it's one of those things that I normally don't do, and for a good reason. Uh, El Leroy has some really excellent movements and done some interesting things in the past. In fact, from 1900 to 1989, they had the most complex watch that there was. And then in 1989, Patek Phillipe made one more complicated. And I think it was in 2013, Vacheron Constantin made one even more complicated. So right now, Vacheron Constantin has the most complicated watch. Okay, the next watch is another favorite of mine is the Harboring 2. The Harboring 2 is this is called the Felix. This was the first watch that Harboring made with their own in-house movement, and it won the 2015 Grand Prix Petite Aiguille, which is the prize for the best watch under 8,000 Swiss francs. It's roughly around $8,000 and 8,000 euro. And this little guy is just as solid as a rock. I feel very comfortable going anywhere with it, and I had to buy it brand new because you can't get them otherwise. They were very hard to find and find used. In fact, the Felix, they don't. First of all, they don't make that many of them, and second of all, the ones they do make, people keep for a reason. They're wonderful watches. So that's my sixth watch is my Harboring 2. Love it. Okay, now this next one is my FP Journe. In fact, I'm wearing it. This watch is one that, through a number of unusual things that happened, I ended up getting it. It is I do keep my eye on grand prize winners because that's people a lot smarter than I am about watches say this is the best, and FP Journe has won more Aiguille d'Ors than anyone, and so they're very highly regarded. So they don't come at bargain prices. But this one I got a pretty good buy on. It's a Chronomètre Souverain. It's platinum. It's from 2007, 40 millimeter, and it won the Men's Award as the best watch by a Grand Prix Award in 2003. And it's a good solid watch. One of the interesting things about this watch is that in 2010, FP Journe, mentor and good friend George Daniels, was fairly ill, and so FP Journe wanted to give him something as a former student of his, and he gave them one of these. He gave them a little dedication he wrote on one of the bridges in the back. By the way, too, one of the things that this particular model has, and most of them do, is that the FP Journe decided to make the movement bases out of solid gold. So it's a it's a watch I really like, and I love to wear it. I got a tough band for it. One of the things that FP Journe has is that they have these bands and they're sort of rubberized on the inside. I know other band makers have them, but boy, I love them because every time you wash your hands or something, when you wear one of these, a leather band, or a gator band, they start wearing off and stuff. But this one with the underside rubberized, it's a little more substantial. And anyway, this watch is incredible. Okay, the next watch, now this was something I sort of did as a group project. This is the GMT that I got, a Zenith Elite Dual Time. What had happened was I had saved up money, and I sort of was thinking of getting a Rolex GMT, and then so I had an opportunity to this other watch, and so I thought, well, I'll get it. And then I found out from the place I was buying it from, they said, well, um, if if we can't get it for you, we can't get it. So well, I'd saved all this money up and stuff, and there's nothing worse than a watch collector with burning a hole in his pocket. That's how come I got the FP Journe, the platinum one. So anyway, so I had sort of shot my budget for a GMT, and I found this one, and it was at a really good price because the bracelet was the previous owner had taken a link out of the bracelet, and you had to have a really small wrist. Well, I don't have a small wrist, so it wouldn't fit me. But I just had the band taken off and put on, went out and bought another one. And so I ended up with a great watch with and it is a great watch too. Keeps wonderful time, and that the GMT arrow works fine. Okay, the next watch that I got. Now again, just all these crazy things were happening. This was a watch that I had made a deal with this company, and they had given me a trade-in on Audemars Piguet. And so with the Audemars Piguet, and plus the price of these had dropped $10,000. And so, man, I tell you, this is a watch that, you just look at a watch like that, I'll never have something like that. But you find a good deal on it, and it is a fantastic watch. It's just one of the most beautiful watches I think that Vacheron Constantin ever made. It's very comfortable to wear, and if you hold it up like this, your 12 o'clock is at 12 o'clock, and that was the idea from 1921. And it won the Watch of the Year, the Montreuil's Passion Award for in 2009 when it first came out. It also introduced a 4400 caliber Vacheron Constantin had made. They had a lot of watches that they were redoing all of the movements for. They did it for the overseas and some of the other ones. And right before they did that, they did the one for this, and it's fantastic. My time grapher loved it. Okay, the next watch. Now here was another one. There was this wonderful book by Ryan Schmidt. It's called the Wristwatch Handbook, and I was reading about the resonance and how resonance was used for keeping accurate time. Well, there weren't very many watches that had resonance in it except FP Journe. So what I went through to get this watch is almost funny. And fortunately, I found somebody who had one. But the thing of it is that when you get a watch like this, and they suggest every, I think, 4 years, 3 or 4 years, that you have it adjusted because they have these two wheels that create the resonance to keep the time very accurate and steady, and also it serves to fight off outside interference. And so at the very top, you can see the crown there at the 12 o'clock. Right below it is the power reserve indicator, and then you have these dual identical clocks, and it's, you can set it. I set it up for dual time. The button at 4 o'clock, if you punch it syncs up the two second hands. And the thing that's amazing about wearing this watch and you're looking at the second hands and they're in perfect synchronization. So anyway, this won the prize for complication in 2010. There's a little more to the story than that, because the initial one, they didn't. The only thing that they changed from this one to the one that eventually won an award was that this one had a brass base on the back rather than gold like the Souverain has. But then they decided to put them all on gold. So that was one change. Then the other change, they changed a few things on the way the dial was presented. But otherwise, it's the same watch, and it's their resonance. This watch is a trip. It really is, and I can hardly wait to see it again. When it was sent off to the what I'll call the watch hospital that FP Journe has, they sent me these pictures. I thought you could get a very clear view of both the front and the back, and so that's what they're working on right now. And when I get it back, it'll be totally overhauled. I can hardly wait. Okay, the final watch that I got was one of these watches that was so unexpected. I never thought I'd get a Harry Winston, not because it was a matter of affordability. I just wasn't interested in them, to tell you the truth. I mean, Harry Winston, they're a jeweler. They sounded like, well, you sort of assume that they're making a fashion watch. Couldn't be more wrong. What Harry Winston did when he first started the making watches, he hired two of the best. Jean-Marc Wiedereck and Roger Debris. Jean-Marc Wiedereck had won the Watchmaker of the Year in 2007, which was the very first time they ever gave out that award. And he has this incredible company called Agenhor. And Agenhor makes these magic, their movements and the modules they make are the best in the world. And for mechanical watches, of course. Anyway, so what they put this together, and it took some doing to find out about it, because Harry Winston in 2013 was sold this watch, and so this particular one is from around 2005-ish, right around in there. It's hard to find out about it because they don't have the best record keeping. They don't have the archives that like Vacheron Constantin or Patek have. They have some, but you pretty much rely on some other resource. So what I did was that what I could find out, I took that and put it together and started contacting people. And I got a contact at Girard-Perregaux, and sure enough, he had showed that Girard-Perregaux was actually the manufacturer of this. I think Frederic Breguet had also done some of these, and all of these different companies that were involved in the watchmaking. And so what I did is that I took all of the parts, and the one missing part that I had was the Agenhor, and it was nowhere to be found in terms of what it was. Well, so I wrote Agenhor, and I said, well, is it true that you guys did this? And I'm trying to find out about it. Boy, did I couldn't have run into a more helpful group than Agenhor. They sent me that you can see the picture of the Agenhor 2351, which is a module that controls the retrograde in my watch. And so I sent him all of this, and so he sent me back, and what you see there are those little boxes at the bottom. Those are call-outs that Nicholas Wiedereck had from Agenhor had showed me. Well, he sort of drew a little line where the different parts were. So I was delighted. I mean, for a watch collector to find a watch that has a lot, much more in it than meets the eye. My El Ra had perhaps much less. This one has a whole lot more. It was 100%, 18 karat gold. And also, too, the case is by, I'm going to say this incorrectly, Les Boiteliers de Génie. Now, they're case makers, and they're the case makers that is, they make the cases for FP Journe. So here I have a watch with the FP Journe case, a Girard-Perregaux movement, and then an Agenhor module with it. And it's just like, this is a great watch. There aren't very many of these things. One of the things I was interested in primarily was the retrograde, because I didn't have any retrograde. Okay, well, that's my collection, and any comments you have, you say, hey, that's that's the dumbest collection I've ever seen, or maybe this might be a good addition to it. Any kind of suggestions you have, I'd be more than happy to listen to. Okay, now it is time for the drawing for one of three watches. What I'm going to do, I'm going to draw the name out of here, pull a rabbit out of the box, so to speak, and I'll mix these up. These are all of the people who are eligible for it. And let me get, okay, alrighty. And the one I picked is R18, which is the, let's see who is R18. R18. This is Dionysus. Okay, Dionysus is the name that I use for one of our collections. He's a good friend with someone I know. I had no idea that that was his. Anyway, so here are the three watches. You can pick any one you want. This is a Seiko with it has both quartz and automatic. The part of the power to run the sort of recharge the battery or keep it charged is a rotor in the back. It's like a automatic has. The next two I have are both automatics. This one is by Armitron, and Armitron has a skeletonized, and that makes it sort of an interesting watch to look at, because you can wind it up and through both the front and the back, you can see how the workings work. Finally is a very nice little Orient, and again, it's automatic. It has a view window in the back, and you can see how everything works with that. So just shoot me an email, Dionysus, you know who you are, and let me know which watch you want, and I'll send it right on to you. Okay, well, like I said, please leave a comment, and this is an invitation to subscribe. This is our first year anniversary, and got some plans for next year. Going to do some more work on the place and try to do some different things. And if you have any ideas of things that we can add to WatchArtSci, let me know. So this has been Bill Sanders for WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection.